Da-da-da, da-da-da,
You're watching Cover 2 with your host, Katie Baird.
Welcome to this week's episode of Cover 2, where we cover you and your fantasy league. Well, we are now officially through week 13, and there's only 1 week left in the regular season. Good luck to all of you out there who are finishing it out. Now let's get started with this week's lame game of the week. There's no lame game this week! Yay! Congratulations! You are not losers. Well, they're still losers, just not as lame ones. Let's move on to this week's highlighted score. The Oiler's defeated the Icy Ninjas 110-101 to stay alive in the playoff hunt. Drew Brees once again led the Oilers with 26 points, but they won with consistency as each of their other players scored between 6 and 16 points. The Icy Ninjas managed to break the 100-point mark even with 3 players scoring either 0 or 1 points. If any one of those 3 had a decent game, the Ninjas could have won and wrapped up their playoff spot. Tough break. Now let's check out this week's other scores. Get Your Popcorn Ready had the highest score of the week for the first time this season and defeated Tension Echoes 127-86. Tony Romo led Popcorn with 33 and Brandon Jacobs led Tension Echoes with 22. The Zambonis beat up on the Screaming Eagles 120-75 to keep hold of 4th place. Each player for the Zambonis scored under 20 points, but 7 were still in double digits. Devon Bess shattered his previous high score this season to lead the Eagles with 17 points. Penguins Rule shattered all hopes of Lucid Bogey's winning streak by defeating them 119-90. Aww. The difference in this game was Robert Meacham's 26 points for the Penguins, whom had just claimed Meacham off of waivers before the Bogies were able to get him. If Meacham was on the Bogies instead, they very well might have won. You want to put that in there one more time? Meacham. Lastly, Janelle's Jets dealt with a crushing blow to the unstoppable Pats and knocked them out of the playoff race with a 96-88 defeat. Larry Fitzgerald's 20 points and Adrian Peterson's measly 5 points on Sunday night put the Jets in the position for the win. Now, since there's no message board post this week, Hanko, let's move on to Kickoff Corner where we preview this week's upcoming matches. There are some very important games here in Week 14. 4 teams are still vying for 2 spots. Here's what's going to happen. The Icy Ninjas will make it with a win over the Screaming Eagles, and the Zambonis will get in with a win over the Unstoppable Pats. Get Your Popcorn Ready needs to defeat the first place Penguins Rule to get a loss by either the Ninjas or the Zambonis. The Oilers need a win against Tension Echoes and losses by 2 of the following: Ninjas, Zambonis, and Popcorn. Additionally, Penguins Rule can lock up the first seed in the playoffs if they defeat Popcorn. But if they lose, Janelle's Jets can take over first seed with a win against the Lucid Bogies. I did it. Now let's move on to this week's Owner Spotlight. This week's spotlight is on Stephen Gagnon, owner of Penguins Rule. This is Steve's 2nd year in the league. His team last year was known as Rookies Route. I like that name a lot better. Finished in 6th place. We have footage from Steve's Q&A press conference from earlier this past week. It's a bit extensive, so let's just get right into it.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not going to make a formal statement, so if we want to get right to the questions, that'll be fine. First question, please.
Coach, is it true that your son Drew's success prompted you to join the league?
Yes, it is true that I decided to join the league because of Drew, and we've always had a relationship where we've shared our coaching styles with each other, so I knew I would have some success in the league.
Coach, my girlfriend thinks I talk too much about Sam Adams late in football.
Hey, now that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Ha ha! Preaching to the choir.
Coach, what was your recipe for success this year?
Well, my recipe for success this year has been consistency. You know, most of my weeks, my points have been fairly stable, been anywhere between the 90s up in the 100s, but I've had a fairly level line. You've got some other teams out there, you know, their scores from week to week, you know, they look like the Himalayan mountains. And, you know, that's good on the weeks you're up there, and that's bad on the weeks you're down there. So I just like to keep things as consistent as I possibly can and let the chips fall where they may.
Coach, playoff season is a week away. Are you stocking up on Sam Light?
Well, you know, I have more today than I had yesterday, and I'm going to have more tomorrow than I have today.
Coach, did you change your team name, and what made you decide on Penguins rule?
Well, it's a very good question, and it's very observant. Last year, my team name was Rookie's Route, and last year I didn't really route, and this year I'm not a rookie, so I had to come up with a different name. And to answer your question specifically, pure psychology. Myself and Drew, the owner of Unstoppable Pats, we kind of have a minority ownership as far as where we are in the region here. Most of the other teams' owners are down from the Philadelphia area, and they don't like the Pittsburgh Penguins. So any psychological edge I can possibly get, I've been pretty active in the posts on a weekly basis, trying to stir the pot a little bit. Any edge I can get psychologically, and I wanted to start right at the beginning of the year, so I decided to go for the throat and name my team Penguins Rule.
Coach, this really cute guy on the Sam Adams bottle, I really like this. It's a really manly brew.
Well, that's not really a question.
So, Coach, what do you think of your matchup with Popcorn this week?
Well, you know, I'm not really too worried about Popcorn this week. You know, Popcorn, as I've said all season long, is an average team, kind of like the unpopped kernels, you know, at the bottom of the bag. She's been falling to the bottom as the season's gone over. However, you know, playoffs are just a week away, and I do want to keep my guys, you know, moving forward, and I want to start the playoffs with, you know, with a splash. So, are there any other questions? All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Yingling Traditional Lager. From PA and much better than Sam Adams Boston Lager. Pick one up at your nearest liquor store today. Well, that's our show for this week. Thanks for tuning in to Cover 2, where we cover you and your fantasy league. See you next time, and until then, for Cover 2, I'm Katie Baird. Good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.